And that sound means it's the start of another Missile for the Masses. I'm your host, Gary.
And I'm Casey.
And this is the Chaplain's Assistance Motorpod. This is the podcast that's centered around the vehicles, playsets, and even trailers of the G.I. Joe, a real American hero toy line from 1982 to the present day. We also talk G.I. Joe and connected comics, and sometimes figures and other military and adventure toy lines. And Casey, welcome back to the Motorpod. It's been a while. How you been?
Pretty good. Working a lot, and it has been too long.
Yeah, it's been before Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
You were on the pit last week, so.
Yeah, that is true. I've been doing other things. I've been on other people's shows, doing a lot of recording, just not doing my own.
Mhm.
Last Missile, you haven't listened to it because it just dropped last night while you were doing a live stream with
Toy Connections and Delta 17 and like 8 other people.
Yeah, and dropping the bomb on the Joe Fest exclusive. So,
They're so good.
yeah. We just talked literally for the listener that's just coming into the show. We've just spent 10 minutes talking about it. So they're like, oh yeah, we got to shut up and we got to talk about it on the show. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
So good. I mean, everything they're doing for Joe Fest is fantastic. The only thing I wish, the only downer, is no issue number 2 yet from the comic. But it's coming.
good.
Yeah, it's coming.
And that means with our current recording schedule, we might be on time for that one.
Maybe.
I found a guy on social media on Facebook. He was selling some 90s Joes. And I picked up a carded 1993 Muskrat. I think it was like
Nice.
$20 or $25
Hmm.
shipped. And I was just like, you know what? He's got I was talking to Jim the Joe Junkie,
Mm-hmm.
and we couldn't remember if it was Mace or Muskrat that had the missile launcher on the helmet. And then I found this like literally the next day. And I text him, I go, hey, guess what? It was both. It was like, we're both right. So, and he was just like, we were laughing. And then, but anyway, so the guy that was selling the Muskrat, he was, it was the only one I really could claim. There was a couple that I wanted because, these 90s figures are so easy to get, carded and so
Right.
affordable. So he's like, well, I got some other complete figures with card backs. And then, so I was like, okay, what do you have? And he gave me the whole list. So then I went ahead. So loose complete with complete card is DEF Mutton Junkyard. And
Nice.
then I got DEF Cutter. So it's just like, I didn't have them for my collection. Figures don't take up that much room. So let's go. Let's, and they were cheap. It was just like, we're talking like less than $20.
Mm-hmm.
But then I splurged. There was one last figure to get. It was the 93 yellow Alley Viper complete.
That's cool.
Yeah. But for 4 figures, I spent less than $100. And that was totally worth it. Like super happy, just rounding out my 90s collection. And it kind of came in handy because I think I used the Alley Viper for my Parasite shoot. I think I did. But then I went to my local comic shop, and this had been sitting there for weeks. I hadn't been to my local comic shop, like I was telling you, off air, that since Free Comic Book Day. I finally got my Marvel Legends Rom figure.
He looks amazing.
The owner of the shop was telling me, he's like, everybody's raving about the Rom figure. I bought 4 of them, and the other 3 sold the first day.
Mm-hmm.
He says, like, you're the only one that reserved one. He says, so that's the only reason why you still got it. He says, I probably could have sold it like, 3 times over. And but everybody was saying like the Rom figure is like one of the best Marvel Legends figures in years.
Yeah, it looks really good.
He's gonna look nice. He is on my bookshelf with still carded. He's on my bookshelf with the Rom omnibuses. So that's where he gets to say my 2017 San Diego Comic Con. He's still playing on the shelf, the little 4-inch guy. All right. So Casey, what did you get since the last time we've been talking?
So much stuff, but I'll just hit a couple highlights. And I'll only show you two Motu. I got my Masterverse Ninjor,
All right.
which
So Ninjor.
yeah, he's one of my favorites.
So is he from the original line?
Yeah, yeah.
So when was he? Was he like during Princess of Power or
No, he was in the Masters Universe line, but later on,
okay, like around Hordak?
maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta do the history on that. Maybe we can talk Ken into doing that.
Oh, I have people coming in. They want to hear Casey do a Motu episode.
I love Motu. I can do that. Uh, one thing. Speaking of movies, I got Blade minus his swords. Have you seen the '87 movie?
What Blade is this?
It's Blade from the 1987 Masters Universe
Oh,
movie.
okay. So most people hear Blade and they think of Wesley Snipes.
Now it's a good Blade, but really good shape. It's from '87, and I just needed swords, so I've been trying to look for those. I found some repros, but they're still $25, so I don't know. I didn't pay that for the figure, and I got two classifieds. I got the Viper, the '86 Viper.
Retro Viper.
Yeah, retro Viper. So I guess in classified, he's probably like version 8 Viper with all the little sets they had. Love that. Like I said, I don't do a lot of classifieds, but if they put out something I really want, I will buy it. Like my Leatherneck, had to have him. Honestly, there's a couple more that's coming out. Frag Viper, I got to get him because I've always loved him. Still, I think I only have like maybe 12 classified figures now.
The I'm really tempted by Budo.
Oh, he looks good. Yeah.
And if they do another quick kick, I might be tempted by another quick kick if they do something different with him.
I heard rumors that they're going to do a new quick kick and he's going to be like decked out with actual boots and, gear. That I would really look into.
Yeah, I still think my definitive quick kick is Special Missions 27, the cover when he's firing off the Uzi on top of the bus,
Oh, yeah.
and it's that's kind of the reason why I got my O-ring quick kick in my upstairs display. He's manning the accessory pack of Leatherneck's machine gun, and it just looks so badass, and it's just like yeah, because quick kick is a badass,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, run around in the snow with no shoes on, you got to be tough for that.
No shoes, no shirt.
Right?
Quick Kick's getting no service.
No. Well,
So
he did from Saw Viper.
yeah, ooh, too soon, too
Too
soon.
soon. It was like in the '90s.
Yeah, yeah, 35 years too soon.
I'm just saying they weren't. Larry Hama wasn't scared to take out popular characters.
No, and the only reason why he was finally able to do that was he went to Hasbro. He's like, the roster is so huge, and he goes, "Who aren't you going to make figures of again?" And
Hmm.
they're like, Crazy Legs and Quick Kick and
Doc.
Doc. And he's just like, okay. And he
They're
comes up with a
Dunzo.
mission to fit, and he comes up with a mission for them all to die.
They killed Breaker too, which was sad. I like Breaker.
Breaker and Doc really gave that moment gravitas,
Hmm.
but everybody, like even Crazy Legs had a good arc, but Quick Kick was in the comic kind of an also ran,
Hmm.
so was like, Crankcase.
And I mean, Quick Kick was pretty big in the cartoons.
Well, yeah, a cartoon, but the Marvel era, Larry wasn't really influenced at all by the cartoons. He might have seen an episode in parts and bits, but he never really, took any of that. That didn't really start, until Devil's Due without, and that wasn't Larry. But
Mhm.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
that's a great segue to something that did show up in tonight's topic, which is G.I. Joe 314 and G.I. Joe 315. G.I. Joe Real American Hero by Skybound Comics, published by Image Comics, written by Larry Hama. You think we're ready to dive in to those books, Casey?
Sure.
All right, so we'll start off with issue 314 of G.I. Joe Real American Hero. And Casey, lead us with the cover description.
Okay. It's got the color scheme of the dragonfly, but it's got to be more of a tomahawk because we've got people jumping out of it. But Wild Bill is piloting, and we got Tunnel Rat, Sherlock, and Tripwire jumping out, just blasting away. Uh, Even the details of Tunnel Rat's boot treads. Andy Kubert did a great job on this cover. Uh,
Oh,
well, he did a good one
if
on
he's
this one.
listening, he'll be very happy because he knows how critical you can be.
He did a good job on this one. That one cover was really suspect, but this one I like. It, and you got bullets bouncing off of the helicopter, and you got the spinning blades, and it just did a great job. Lots of action.
This is a cover that gets me excited to pick up this book. You got good characters, um, Hama giving Sherlock some love, and the only thing, if I have to be critical of, is like we know he loves Wild Bill, but we know Lift Ticket's the pilot of the Tomahawk. So,
Uh, I've seen Wild Bill fly a lot.
and he flies the C5A and the C130, and
Yeah,
he, Wild Bill gets a lot of love.
Lift Ticket's probably looking for his mic.
He couldn't get to the tarmac on time. He's like, "Where's my mic? Where's my mic?
I've lost my mic."
Oh, I can't be ready for the mission."
Wild Bill's like, I don't need no mic.
To summarize G.I. Joe 314, it is a departure from the previous storyline of the mutant zombie virus, Serpentor, Dr. Mindbender, Springfield, Destro, Baroness is shot. What's going on? But we'll get back to that in the next issue. This issue is almost like a special mission.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite Larry Hama stories. And with this one, we have the team of Sherlock, Tripwire, and Tunnel Rat heading from the flag on the Tomahawk. Tomahawk being piloted by Wild Bill and Door Gunner Roadblock. So far, this team seems well. Other than Tripwire, because Tripwire is supposed to be the goofball comic relief,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality, they're on a mission to save Lila Haddad, a 15-year-old Benzini progressive activist, and she also happens to be the daughter of some high muckety muck in Benzine. And they're supposed to fly from Benzine into Trucial Abysmia to rescue her. And she's being held by El Cobra,
Yeah.
Sherlock's arch nemesis, or Sherlock is El Cobra's nemesis. Either way, since that little story arc they had about 20 issues ago, they've kept this alive. El Cobra is a former Fred series C- Crimson
CG.
Guardsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, CG. I want to say CG, but for the podcast, you say Crimson Guardsman first. And then so they're on their way. They get in, and when they arrive, they find that Molto, another recent character from late in the IDW run, he had already infiltrated and got set up the mission. So they find out where the Alcabra's forces are. They basically go in guns blazing. This is not really a stealth op. Um, Not really sure, why the use of force was deemed necessary rather than the use of stealth. But for me, that gave this book some action, um, some actual action movie action. They get to the vault where Tunnel Rat uses his explosives expertise to surround the door with C4 plastic explosive and blows it up. And then they all just keep mowing down the bad guys. So they get to the inner bunker, they blow the door, and they're there to rescue the girl. But when they untie the girl, she immediately has a different demeanor than that of a 15-year-old hostage. And Sherlock is like, that is no 15-year-old. She's already grabbing an AK, racking it to put a bullet in the chamber. And she's like complaining, do you know how long it took to set up this operation? So something is already off in the mission. With all this going on, Alcabra is like, I need to personally see this, like what's going on. And then they find out that Sherlock is there, and he's like, oh yeah, great, I can get rid of my arch nemesis at this time. So they get down there, and Tunnel Rat and Tripwire are basically leading the charge of firing on the Alcabra's forces. They're having a hard time, and then Tripwire loads uranium tipped discarding Sabit Magnum load in his 12 gauge shotgun, which, the shotgun was kind of an odd choice.
Right.
But then when he shoots it, you see the 12 gauge bullet, go through 3 file cabinets to hit the terrorist.
I love that frame.
That is a good frame.
That was a nice job.
And Tunnel Rat even has a nice one liner. You got any more of those?
Yeah.
But then Alcabra basically makes the order. You have to take Lila alive, and you have to take Sherlock alive. But kill the other 2 people. So Lila, in quotes, takes charge and storms Alcabra's forces with the AK. And he's like reminding them, don't shoot her. And they're like, yeah, screw that, she's shooting at us. And they're not true believers for Alcabra's cause, so they retreat. And then Sherlock is like, well, that's what we're all going in on a full frontal assault. So while the tables are turned, while the attack is continuing, Duke informs Sherlock's team that Lila is actually not there. She's in Barovia being treated for a nervous system disorder, and that the girl there is actually a woman, Samara Bilal. She's 23 years old, and she's a Benzini Special Forces lieutenant with a personal grudge against Alcabra because he blew up her village and her family and everything, and she's basically like out for revenge. And this is all for the Benzini forces.
I really like the ending where, the Tomahawk's coming in for like a hot pickup and Roblox just starts laying down the fire and they get away. I
Yeah.
mean, the art is so good.
Oh, it is, and we'll get to that. And I just want to get to the final part of the synopsis because we've kind of
Oh,
mixed it a little bit.
sorry.
My fault. No, no, don't you? No, no, I screwed up first, so you're fine. Um, but the mission parameters changed it was uh, it was discovered that once they discovered that Lila was actually Samara. So now they're like, you have to take Alcabra alive, and just don't do anything to Samara. And basically, Samara's like, I got to kill this guy, and they're like, no, he's got to answer for his crimes, and jurisprudence in The Hague, and it ends like you said. They get up in the LZ, and Sherlock tells Wild Bill as they're flying back to the flag, no, we're going to drop off Samara and Alcabra so that he can face trial. And again, doing things not in order because it's been a while. So the writer on this book was indeed, as always, Larry Hama. The artist was Andrew Cranky, Krahnke. So I hope I pronounced that right. Colorist is Francesco Segala. Flatterer is Sabrina Del Grasso. Letterer is Pat Brosseau, with the Andy Kubert and Laura Martin main cover that you described. Alex Antone is the editor. Jillian Crabb, publication design, production design, Richard Mercado, and creative consultant, Diana Davis.
First off, really impressed with the art. Uh, he's got a realistic style, but with his action work is fantastic.
Yeah, one thing I just flipping through. He also does great character work. There's a panel with them in the Tomahawk, and they're checking their weapons, getting ready for the mission, and you know Tunnel Rat has such a strong chin, but and Tripwire just looks like a great realistic version of his O-ring figure with detail that was more evident on his classified figure. And then and Sherlock just looks good. She looks not vivacious or buxom or whatever, but she just looks like a real woman getting ready to go in on an op.
Yeah, he does a great Sherlock. Some of the little frames where she's just holding up a laptop or an iPad, he does a great Sherlock.
Yeah. The other thing too, I want to say the Segala's colors on this issue were really good too.
Hmm.
A great mix of setting the light and the tone with each frame, and just being able to mix it well. And it was just done to a great effect. I mean, this just came across very highly polished. Something that I know we all talk about Chris Mooneyham.
You're not missing anything with this artist. That's the good point.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, his layouts are nice. They're very flow. The lines are very crisp. Yeah, he also did his own inks. Whatever Andrew Cranky is doing, he needs to keep doing it because this works. And this is just like another guy in the long list of Skybound artists that is like, what are they doing? Why aren't they making like another GI Joe book for this guy?
Yeah, it's a small frame, but the one where they shoot the two guards right next to what'd you say her name was? It starts with an S.
Samara?
Samara. I mean, it's like a simple frame, but he did it so well. It's like three taps each. Boom.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of, the other thing I noticed, he does a thing like, so there's a frame where Mainframe and Duke are telling the team that, nope, that's not Lila, this is Samara. And you look at Mainframe, he's got that very serious face, but the way he drew it was with less detail. So he conveyed tightness in the skin and the focus by using less line work and giving it more of an attitude pose. And I'd almost say it reminded me a little bit of anime. The eyes seemed a little bit bigger, just like narrowed and slit because again, Mainframe's focusing. But then like I said, you go back and you see, him drawing El Cabra, and it's very Western. It's very, house style or something like that. But then, on that same page of Samara and Lila, you got a beautiful. I mean, it's a small panel, a beautiful panel of Wild Bill. It's just like the colored glasses and everything is just
And I was wrong. He has a mic.
bananas figure.
No.
But yeah, so I mean, we've gushed over the art. I'll say this, like I said earlier, Hama doing special missions, getting into the mission on page 1, getting out of the mission on page 20 or 22. He's one of the masters at it.
Well, I'm here to ask Skybound to let Hama do more special missions and have, I'm sorry, Cranky be the artist for it. That way we can keep the original like this. Let's just pay Hama to do 2 books a month.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It was great. This book was, I'm really invested in the current ongoing storyline in A Real
Mhm.
American Hero,
Me too.
regardless of him playing favorites with certain characters and certain things going on and on. Granted, it's not a perfect, comic book universe, but then what is?
Right.
This was on the reread, I really enjoyed it. I was just like, I remember being surprised because breaking a story and then putting this in was, I think, kind of a bold move by Skybound or Hama, whoever made the decision to just like, hey, let's just take a quick break.
Oh yeah. It's my favorite Skybound book. I can't wait to read it when it comes out. If you put a gun to my head, I would take this over the Inner John stuff. But I do like the Inner John stuff too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, this is just an absolute home run. The only other thing is we got how many new Joes did we have in this book? We had Sherlock and Malto. Did we have anybody else?
No, I didn't see Mongoose.
Okay.
I think he's on in the next one. He's in the next comic.
Yeah. So I guess that's the only thing I got to say is we got these characters. Where are the figures? That's
Yeah,
all.
I was going to say the same thing. Give me the figures.
So,
And what, Black Hat too?
yep, Black Hat.
Yeah. I know a buddy of ours, uh, Greg, I think he made a custom Black Hat a year or so ago.
Okay. Should we rate the book?
I'm good for it.
All right. I would say this is really fun. Out of 5 uranium tip 12 gauge shotgun bullets,
There we go.
uh, I'll say this was like a 4.5.
Yeah, it's a solid 4 easy. I could go higher, but it was a lot of fun.
So I guess now we're ready to start with G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 315. And Casey, will you describe to the audience cover A by Andy Kubert?
Shockingly, another Andy Kubert cover I like. It's got the old school Andy Kubert feel to it. I love Cobra Commander's finally getting his due after what he had done to the Baroness. Actually, Destro's showing a lot of restraint. I'm just saying.
Well, there are restraints on the cover.
Yeah. And that is some thick chain. Let's say he's had better days.
Yeah, so we got Cobra Commander. He's kneeling down on the floor of a dungeon, not quite touching it because of the chains that are shackled to his wrists and to his neck. The chains loop up the wall to the eyelets and then back around. So it's kind of like he's restrained to the wall. He's got that newer style helmet, the one that's like GI Joe Retaliation,
Mm-hmm.
and his shirt, his clothes are all ripped up. And he's got the big Cobra sigils on his knee pads, and
I was just getting ready to say those knee pads are so cool.
any like sheetrockers or roofers or floor guys that would need the knee pads.
Yeah.
I know Jim covers like the stickers and stuff on his podcast, like stickers and calendars of GI Joe. It's like here you go. Here's some ephemera for you on GI Joe. Hey, do you remember when you bought those GI Joe knee pads for like mount for BMX bicycling and because
If I
they had to have made them. Somewhere there's a GI Joe knee pad and elbow pad.
I mean, with Etsy, anybody can have them.
This cover reminds me of like a 1990s X-Men cover.
Oh yeah, I mean he did some X-Men covers back then.
The attitude, the line work, you got the hashes on his arms to represent like, hairy arms. And or that's the way I'm interpreting it as. It could also be shading, but
The bruising looks so cool though. He did such a good job on that, like on his shoulder.
and you got a little glimpse of his left eye through the broken face mask.
Yeah.
This is the image that sells the book. I mean, if you weren't reading G.I. Joe, you weren't a regular G.I. Joe reader. If you saw this on the stand, like, oh, I'm deciding if there's any extra comics, would you pick this book up based on the cover alone?
I would definitely pick it up and look at it for sure. And once you start popping it open, seeing that art, I would probably buy it.
Yeah. This cover is fantastic. It's another, like I said, there's a lot of drama in the image, it's just evoking like he's not happy that he's chained up, but he knows why he's chained
Oh yeah.
up.
He's like that for a reason.
A very good reason as far as well, me the reader and Destro the character is
Yeah.
concerned. Yeah, so just so you know that the colors were by Brad Anderson on that. So credit where credit is due. So Andy Cooper and Brad Anderson, great job, guys. This is one of my favorite covers.
Hmm.
I mean, they can't all be my favorites, but this one is just like this one. This is one that, again, if there was like an 11 by 17 poster made, be like, yeah, this would be a solid one to have in the collection.
As much as I like to cover 314, 315 is even better to me.
All right, let's get into the book. So, writer, of course, Larry Hama. Artist is The Return of Chris Mooneyham. Colorist, Francesco Segala. Flatter, Sabrina De Grasso. Letterer, Pat Brousseau. We have editor, Alex Antone. Publication design, Jillian Crabb. Production design, Richard Mercado. And creative consultant, Diana Davis. So, we open up the book, and guess what? Cobra Commander's chained to a wall. Uh, and it's a little bit different. He's got his kind of like his uniform from the neck down, but from the neck up, he's got that beatnik vibe from way back in issue 55. So he's got the Fu Manchu mustache, the
Hooray.
the beret and the round specs. So and we open up, he's chained to the wall. We're looking right on him through Destro's legs. And he's like, I'm going to have revenge on you. And Destro is absolutely not having any of that. He's like, yeah, you know what you did. And Cobra Commander, ever the weasel, he's going, I didn't shoot the Baroness. And Destro's like, yeah, you gave the order, dummy. Yeah, you're not getting out. And you're going to be lucky if she survives this because you do not want to know what happens if anything goes sour. So we get the wonderful, beautiful, lovely, why haven't we gotten it, Cobra transport helicopter,
Yep.
affectionately known as the Aspid. And they're bringing the surgeon that's going to work on the Baroness, who's in this kind of like luxury suite in Destro's castle, but she's in a hospital bed, with a drop cloth and everything over her. And Destro has the anesthesiologist and everything ready to go for the surgeon. So the surgeon is going to take her away, and then we get a Iron Grenadier in traditional Scottish attire coming up and handing Destro a tablet where he's being briefed on what's going on in Springfield by one of his Iron Grenadiers that Casey probably has a few of at this point.
Love the Iron Grenadiers.
So filling them in, and they're mentioning what they're doing. They got the mutant cyborgs on one side, they got the Cobra soldiers on the other, and they're like, we need further orders. But then we flip over to Alpha 001, who's arriving again on Cobra Island, and he's kind of doing the same thing. He's sorting the casino patrons, he's sorting his bats, and he's also sorting the cyborg troopers. So he gets to the end of the hall and he's like, okay, everybody, here is the antidote for the mutant zombie virus bomb. And guess what? It's going to basically almost immediately turn you back in.
Human.
I think that was kind of funny. That's definitely some Hama humor there. The only other loose end for Alpha 001 to tie up is the mutant cyborgs. And he basically says, you guys are too dangerous to be left alone sitting idle. And then he just pulls out, a little detonator button, flips it, and then all their heads explode.
I love that frame. It is so cool.
And then you go over to Springfield, and the Iron Grenadier is like, we await your orders. And then he's interrupted by all the heads going, popping again. And Destral's like, yep, revenge is taking care of business. So we go to Florida, Pensacola. The Joes, who escaped Cobra Island, are washing up the shore with Dr. Mindbender and Serpentor's. I can't even keep track of this, but one of the Serpentor bodies.
Yeah.
And this girl sunbathing, she's like, 911, we got terrorists on the beach. So she runs away. And then immediately the next frame, the cops show up. And Molto asks, how did they show up so fast? And Muskrat's like, that magic word terrorist.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Mindbender immediately assesses the situation, knows what to do. Hey, I'm the prisoner. They're the terrorists. And then somehow the feds take it that, okay, that's the situation. And they immediately put Dr. Mindbender and Serpentor into an ambulance, leaving the Joes to straighten it out. As the Joes straighten it out, telling, and this is the joke from earlier, is telling to call the Pentagon and say, no, the code phrase, knowing is half the battle.
Yeah.
Immediately everything gets straightened out and literally in 3 panels. Next thing you know, Dr. Meinberg gets up off the gurney and tranquilized darts the 2 doctors from a hidden tranquilizer gun in his arm. So he takes control of the ambulance and is en route to Baton Rouge. We go over to McGuire Air Force Base where more Joes land, and that's the ninja team of Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Dawn, and Storm Shadow, and Jinx. And they're driving over to Fort Wadsworth. And they get there and they're greeted by Sean Collins, aka Throwdown. And they go into the pit, which is currently being refurbished. So they go down the elevator shaft, and then Snake Eyes, basically says, this is the new dojo. There's the new dojo in the pit. And then they start doing their finger knits.
Yeah.
But that's not where we leave off. We leave off with back to Castle Destro. Destro walks up to the commander in his dungeon and says that the Baroness will be okay. Just it's going to be a long and tenuous recovery. Now he's going to figure out what he wants to do with the relationship between Mars and Cobra.
I'm very interested to see how that's all going to play out. I wonder if Larry even knows yet.
I know we're a little behind. We're really only an issue behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hasn't played out yet. It was definitely Mooneyham's layouts. His artwork is, the thing, but it's just funny when you get to a Mooneyham layout, you just see how it's a little bit differently or more dynamic than most other artists. He tends to use a lot more insets without frames.
Mm-hmm.
But his line work, obviously, is just, it's Mooneyham. We gush over him every time we see his art. So I'm just going to.
He does an amazing Destro.
Yeah, Destro has a really strong chin. But
And,
I actually liked his Iron Grenadiers too.
oh yeah, especially when that one was turning his head, and he got the action lines where like he was turned real fast because the heads were popping.
Segala's doing colors on this one, but his color palette on this is slightly different with Mooneyham than it was with Cranky. It's much more moody, much more moody. In Springfield, when all these heads are popping, the red he uses to pop the heads is highly contrasted over everything else on the panel.
You know, I like the wording pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
And when the recon team's coming out of the water, that's just terrific too.
I wouldn't mind him being the regular.
Oh yeah,
I know he switches off with Paul Pelletier.
he's good too.
Since Joe has started with 301, Mooneyham led the charge, but everybody else fits the theme, the modus operandi. I don't know. There's definitely a vision for the art for this book.
Oh yeah, they all fit the story. They Larry Hama works well with all three of them. So
Yeah. Hama's scripts are definitely they're not full scripts, but they're enough that the artists have enough to work with, and they all seem to do a good job with their interpretation of what Hama describes. I like when they're going down into the pit because one of my favorite things is what vehicles are being used.
yeah,
You got the Wolverine on one side, and then it looks like it's that what is that vehicle from the 25th anniversary line that has the helicopter that's built into the main vehicle?
I'm not sure. I don't have any of
I
those.
don't think it's not the RO. Is it the Rhino?
I don't know.
It's something that you wouldn't normally see in this book, but there it is. So that's something. And then you got two other. It looks like either a battle wagon or it's something else. But on the right side, I can't identify the two on there. You just see a. It looks like a cross between a raider and a battle wagon.
The one on the bottom row for the right looks like the first part to the thunderclap.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But
I mean, I'm sure it's not, but it looks like it.
so yeah, the storyline with Alpha 001. I mean, we haven't really gotten to know what his plan is for the casino.
Mm-hmm.
He has a base in Baton Rouge, but now he has Cobra Island. So Cobra Island seems to be back in play for the GI Joe universe. And we still got the what's going on over at Transcarpathia with Destro. So we definitely got seeds sown in this book. Still plenty of movement in the book without it being like a complete talking heads issue.
Right. It's definitely the story could go a bunch of different ways right now, and I think as long as Hama's writing it, it's going to go the right way.
I'm pretty much I'm all set. You wanna go ahead and tell me what you think of the book on a scale of 0 to 5 popping mutant zombie heads?
I would go 4.75. I really liked it. I like the wrapping up of the whole. I don't want to call it a civil war, but I'm excited for things to come.
All right, I'm going to be a little less than you today. I'm going to be at a 4. I'm going to be at 4 popping heads, but it's
It's really good.
well worth the read.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of fun.
A lot of fun. We got some catching up to do on the books, and we got Energon Universe to get back to. So keep it here for more, eventual GI Joe comic reviews and GI Joe toy reviews. We got more coming up as we march towards Missile 100.
With a small stop in Augusta, Georgia.
Yes, Casey and I we figured it will be 98 will be the week of Joe Fest, and 99 will be the week after Joe Fest, but hasn't been decided yet the actual timeline. We are trying to, or I'm trying to at least make this a regular podcast again, and not have a delay in between episodes like unfortunately we had last month. So
Yeah.
life happens.
Yeah, and I think the change is really going to help, though. Yeah,
Yeah,
recording night.
yeah, we're definitely, we're changing the recording night. And that concludes this Missal for the Masses. This has been the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod, and thank you for listening. The Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod is hosted by Spotify for podcasters and is also found on many of the other popular podcatchers like Apple Podcasts and Good Pods and you name it. Those are my two main ones. Also on YouTube as well. So please like, share, review, comment, or otherwise interact with them, as it only helps to improve and grow this podcast. For more Chaplain's Assistance Motorpod, you can find me on social media at Chaplain Joe Pod on Facebook, Instagram, X, or you can send an email to chaplainjoepod@gmail.com.
And if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on Podcast from the Pit on YouTube, where we do a live stream every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Also, Instagram, we have a pretty good Facebook group. And I'm on X, but I need to start using it more. Sometimes I forget I have it. And you can get a hold of me at podcastfromthepit@gmail.com.
And the Chaplain's Assistance Motorpod is a strange, but not as strange, nerdy little brother of The Pint, a pop culture podcast. And I don't say that because I'm a mutant zombie and I have an explosive chip located in my brainstem. And with all of that said and done, one final missile for the masses: be decent to one another.
Take care, everyone.